Hi, everybody. It's Kateri.
And Onan Kylok, and our very special guest.
Hi, it's Cristina.
And welcome to the Soothsayer's Tea feature
Yeah,
episode for strength. And we're going to talk about mental health. And we got a
yeah.
special guest because we're idiots and we figured that we should probably get somebody who's smarter than us.
I have
So
too much mental health to talk about this
we have all the
unbiased.
mental health. We have
I'm
all.
hoarding mental health.
We have all the mental health. So we have Cristina here from Roma Unraveled podcast, and she's got a lot more insight than we do.
Yeah, so hi, my name is Cristina from Roma Unraveled, the podcast. You may also know me as CFTV Apothecary on TikTok. But what a lot of you don't know about me is that I am getting my master's degree in psychology. I've been studying psychology for a very long time with a focus on trauma therapy.
Yeah.
Okay, STEM major, pop off.
So
Okay.
she's actually taught in mental health initiatives while we're just mentally insane. Speaking of which, yeah, we're definitely want to get right into it. So with every special guest, we do want to reiterate our pronouns. Mine is she, her.
Yeah, he, they.
And my pronouns are they, them.
Oh, I'm sorry. My
No, you're
apologies.
good.
So getting right into it. So when it comes to mental health,
Tarot, first
and
of all. I
tarot.
forgot.
Yeah, we do
Yes,
that, don't we?
we do. For our mental health even sometimes, even though maybe not a good idea.
And, we'll touch on the spiritual bypassing, won't we?
We will. We my favorite word, and we talk about this almost every episode, especially when it comes to like removing cards. But no, we'll get into it later. First of all,
We have a full episode is what we're getting at. First of all, we actually were inspired by this episode by a comment that we received on our YouTube, basically kind of making a good point about fluffy ducks because it was on our future episode for the magician. So we had a conversation about tarot grifters, right? And one of the things that we said was about that there is going to be some readers out there that will use specifically very fluffy decks, very easygoing decks, strictly because they're very easy for the client and they may not be necessarily truthful because they're kind of telling the client what they want to hear. But this comment made a really good point about another tarot reader that they do follow, that this reader actually had a stint in a mental hospital and they chose to have a lighter deck because they weren't in a position at the time to deal with negative messages, which, you know what, it's completely understandable and completely valid, and it's something we kind of glossed over. So that's why when it comes to this episode, we wanted to bring Cristina in because we knew that they would have some really good insight on this type of things because it might shock you, but we're not experts.
we have some experience, but we don't actually know. Actually, okay, hold on. I think I'm a qualified psychologist. I just did a entire module on psychology. I will be talking about that for the rest of my life.
Yeah, Owen's the real expert here. I am,
I
I
know my
just
shit,
exist.
okay? I know that everyone's insane.
Yeah,
That's
that's
it.
fair.
True. That is true. That
I
is
don't
a
know if you have to be an
psychological
expert for that
fact.
one. I don't know if you have to be an expert to figure that one out, though.
Okay, yeah. I really want to talk about what I just brought up a moment ago, and then because I will forget, and I won't bring it up again because I'm a little stupid, but removing cards. I think there's very good ways that you can use tarot for your mental health and sort of to make yourself feel a little bit better and to sort of, especially if you have like anxiety about the future a little bit, because I know I do a little bit. And so what I will do is I will pull cards for myself sometimes just to sort of give myself an idea of what's coming so I can prepare myself a little better. But I don't think we should be removing cards that we don't like or because they have associations that we do not appreciate or imagery that we do not particularly find comfortable, because that is spiritual bypassing.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the thing, like, and I'm going to say this a lot through the episode, is that there's always, you have to find a middle ground. And I say this as a psychologist and also as a professional tarot reader. Like, you always have to find the middle ground with tarot. And while it can be a great tool for, self reflection, shadow work, and that kind of thing, you also have to let yourself sit sometimes with more uncomfortable feelings because that's a fact of life. You can't have it be love and light all the time. you know?
Yeah, I think kind of gross.
Yeah, and I think the thing is that we see a lot of spiritual bypassing, specifically online, and that's usually not really in the case of protecting people's mental health, but more or less to make things look more appealing than what they actually are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially with like TikTok readings and stuff. Like I am a firm believer that any reading that has not been personalized specifically for you is not for you. I don't think you can read for that many people because especially what they do is a lot of like grifters or like people who do these readings on TikTok specifically for like, and I'm not talking about like a daily pulse type reading. Like it's not like setting a vibe for the day, but it's like your boyfriend is coming back. If you are a Pisces and you have blonde hair, like that's just kind of
Yeah. That's
yeah.
straight grifter behavior.
And I
Yeah.
see it all of the time, and all I see in the comments is like, I claim this for myself. I'm claiming this, and it's like,
God.
shut up.
Well, what I find funny is that if everybody's claiming it, then who does it belong to? All of you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But then it
I
doesn't
mean,
belong to any of you. Anyway, I think we banged on that drum enough
yeah,
at certain points. But I think what it really comes into is that what does tarot mean when it comes to mental health? And again, we've kind of again banged on that drum a little bit about not removing cards, no matter how unpleasant they may be. So the question is that when is it appropriate to remove cards or go with a deck that is a lot lighter and um, not as scary?
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing with that is like I think for a lot of people the cards that they find to be scary are actually cards that are really not like death, the devil, even the tower, like I think when it comes to removing cards it's just unnecessary because cards can be recontextualized for your specific situation. Very much so.
yeah.
Um but
And
I
they
also
almost never, sorry, and they
no,
almost
you're
never
good.
have one meaning either. Like, there's no one
Yeah.
card that's just particularly bad.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no card that's exactly bad. I mean, listen, I've been pulling the star reversed for like 2 weeks straight. Um living with that energy. But it's not necessarily bad, you know what I mean? And I think this goes for a lot of things in life. Things are what you make of it, you know?
And that's
Um
actually interesting too, because I never thought about that. I personally don't read with reversals. But if you read with reversals, which know a lot of people do, actually, I find a lot of like newer readers read with reversals because they feel like it's the thing that they have to do. What's the point of removing any card if any card reverse can be just as nasty? Really?
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, I think definitely with that, I think in the last like 20-ish years, reading reversals has become a lot more popular than it used to be. I know I read reversals. Um, but for me, a reversal, I like when I get a card in reverse because it's usually something is like, it's usually bigger. I don't know if that makes sense, but like, if I got a
Yeah.
card pulled in reverse, I'd be like, okay, this is serious now. I have to start paying attention. Or like, because it's not always negative either. A lot of the time for me, what it will do is it will heavily emphasize a card in a reading, if that makes sense. Like it sort of centers a card. And I'm just kind of like, okay, time to pay attention to
Yeah.
this card a little bit more. It decided to do a little flip, so we should give it the attention that it deserves, you know?
Yeah.
And that's fair. I think that's I wouldn't say it's more of a modern take. I feel like that's more of a professional take on card readings. But when you
Me, a
are
professional.
yeah, but when you are more of a newer practitioner that's taking the cards very, very, very literally, right? A reverse card, like like Christina said there, I think a reverse star would be more of a pain in the ass than any other card in the deck at this point. Upright. So at what would be the point of removing cards if you read reversals? Because I do see that at times. Again, when I see that, I see it on the very annoying social medias, which are more or less you, you can probably fully admit that a lot of it's coming out of it trying to kind of make chaos and make controversy so they get more attention. But they say again, just remove the devil card. That way you don't have to deal with that. But I'm going to read reversals, and it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
It really doesn't, like, at all. And that's, again, really the thing with tarot and why I think removing cards is just why. Because it really is what you make of it. I mean, It really, and this is the thing I think, especially for that newer readers get stuck on, is that the definition that you read on Labyrinthios or Biddy Tarot is not necessarily going to be the definition that is true for your situation, you know? And I think a big part also of using tarot for advice, for your mental health, to make you feel a little bit better, a little bit more secure in your future, is that you do have to use a little bit more intuition and flex your intuition a little bit and read the cards contextually.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring up Biddy Tarot while we're talking about how we've shit on fluffy decks in the past, because I'm pretty sure like the second tweet that I made with the Soothsayers Tea account was like Biddy Tarot is the Christian rock of tarot or something like that. Like it was
That's
just
so accurate,
It's
though.
like the butt rock.
yeah, no, like it kind of is. It's just it's a little bit more fluffy and a little like I appreciate Biddy Tarot as a resource, but I think it can be a little bit too positive sometimes. And I don't want to be like a negative either, but like I just want a little bit of spice, just a little flavor.
Yeah, and I think also one of the problems that I've had with Biddy Tarot is that the definitions that they provide tend to focus on like two situations:
Mhm.
finances or like career success and romance. And it's like, all right, well, people have more things going on in their lives than those two very specific situations, you
Yeah.
know? And like I understand that, especially like historically in modern usage, that that's like a lot of people do want love readings or finance readings, but like there's more to life, you know?
Biddy Tarot is like the Oprah magazine of like tarot sites. It's like it's built for like straight cis white women.
Yeah, I can see
That's so
that to be
true.
honest.
That's
Like
so true.
even because I the thing is as well, like in that way they're sort of catering to their audience. I think overall there needs to be more education about what tarot actually is in modern media, because like when you tell someone that you're a tarot reader, it can be weird. Like they can like they start to ask some weird questions sometimes. And but a lot of the time what the main questions that you will get from these people is about like love and finances, because they don't really understand that you can get so much more from tarot. And
Yeah.
I just think there needs to be a little bit more like mainstream education about it.
And I
Yeah, and
actually want to get into that. Like,
Yeah.
sorry. The like I use tarot a lot, specifically in readings for myself, kind of like a tool like you would see in cognitive behavioral therapy, which
Mhm.
you can look up online. There's a ton of great worksheets, so you can bring yourself through some steps that you would see in cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. Um, but you can use tarot quite similarly, and pull cards for yourself and really read them and think about them fully and think yourself through that situation. It's a lot of like when I do readings for myself, it's a lot of reading like multiple definitions, reading intuitively, and contextualizing it for my situation and then analyzing it. And this is something that I think will really help people in regards to mental health with tarot and taking advice from tarot. Is you have to really analyze that and apply it. You know what I mean? Like, what does this mean in your life specifically? What does this mean for you? What are your next steps from here? What is your, even if you get like sudden emotions from a reading, whether they're negative or positive,
Yeah.
why are
yeah.
you feeling that way about this reading?
I would
With
almost
the
suggest people that are struggling with some really severe mental health like struggles or something of the sort. I would almost recommend against using tarot as a divinatory tool, like for future telling and stuff like that, because they can get like I know that when I was struggling and I was using tarot for that reason, I got too stuck on the cards and worrying about them manifesting or not manifesting. I wasn't using it as an inspection tool. I wasn't using it as a tool to get insight. I was using it to almost cheat the future, right? And
Yeah.
that's
Mhm.
can get dangerous very quickly, because that's where I see people that might be dealing with high anxiety or obsessive compulsive disorders. They'll pull out these cards and they'll get so obsessed with the outcome and not actually understand the message. I've had clients come to me where they're just like, I got told by a reader that somebody's going to break into my house 10 years ago and I'm still waiting for that to happen. And it's just like, oh my gosh. Like, so,
That's so awful.
right. But with people who are reading their own cards, they almost victimize themselves by saying that, okay, this is going to happen to me, instead of, okay, this is what's happening. How can I pull messages from it, instead of seeing it as literally a soothsaying tool.
Or even
And
how can I
Yeah.
avoid it? Because I think people think that tarot tells a very like set and definite future, which just isn't really, at least my experience, the truth. I always see tarot as something, at least when I'm trying to like divine something from the future. Tarot to me is always like, okay, what can I do to either get to this situation or avoid this situation? It's never like, oh shit, this situation is coming my way and there's nothing I can do to stop it.
Yeah, exactly. And this is really, I think, where people need to find a middle ground. It's like, absolutely, if you are in a, like, you have to be able to reflect in yourself if tarot is going to be a helpful tool for you at all. You know, even when it comes to like CBT worksheets and that kind of thing and online therapy tools that you can kind of do for yourself, there is a certain point where those things are not going to be helpful for you because you cannot be objective about your own situation. And at that point, tarot is not going to be helpful for you, and it probably will make you feel worse, you know, because
Yeah.
if you don't have the ability to look at things a little bit more objectively and analyze what the reading is telling you and analyze how it applies to your situation, then tarot isn't the tool for you. And there are plenty of other great divination methods out there that, you know, you can keep up your practice and keep up doing divination without doing something like tarot that's a little bit more in depth. But tarot is not for everybody. It's not for every situation. It's not, you know, good for everybody. And I think, like, especially with the popularization of tarot as being like the main divination form in the West, I think a lot of people need to realize that and possibly explore other avenues.
Yeah. For me specifically, with like how I interpret in, what's the word for use? Oh my god.
use.
Yeah, but like with something, intertwine. Anyway, whatever. The way that I use tarot, like in my CBT, like that doesn't make sense. Intertwined with my CBT in whatever. You get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Is because what I will do a lot is like with like the worksheets and stuff. I have to like, well, what I find helpful for me is writing down my thought processes and trying to sort of get myself out of a sort of impulsive loop. Um, and so I use tarot for that, and tarot helps me sort of figure out the root of these thoughts and sort of how they're evolving and how I can stop them. And I'm not really using them to to validate the thoughts. I think if you're using tarot to validate some more like compulsive or impulsive feelings, you're probably going to end up hurting yourself in the long run. I don't think
Yeah,
that's a very good
absolutely.
Yeah.
idea.
And
Yeah.
that comes into, again, my point earlier is just that if you are looking for an outcome, or the tarot is kind of giving you an outcome because you're continuing doing the same thing and you're terrified of that outcome, then you're not doing yourself any favors, especially if you have really no intention to avoid that outcome. You're just kind of waiting for it to happen. It's like, I've done nothing and I'm all out of ideas at this point, right? Because, like you said, like the tarot absolutely can tell you what's going to happen if you continue doing what you're doing. And we see it enough times that people just continue doing what they're doing. It comes to fruition. And then they almost at that point think that the tarot was the thing that made it happen.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I think people spend a little bit too much time. Oh, no, someone else speak. I've lost my train of thought. Continue.
Yeah.
What's
But I
gone?
do, I like hearing that you use to incorporate tarot with your CBT, and the things that you were talking about were really, really good because a lot of like my work with like my research on like trauma therapy, we utilize a lot more, like for me especially, a lot of the research that I do is in combining different kinds of therapy along with CBT because CBT is really not the end all be all of therapy. It's not the most effective for trauma, but there are a lot of helpful tools within CBT that tarot kind of very neatly lines up with. And a lot of that has to do with like breaking a spiral, you know, breaking
Hmm.
a thought spiral that's kind of sending you down this bad path. Um, and I think tarot, if you're doing it by yourself, it can either really help or really hurt that. And I think for anybody who's listening who may want to, if only if you're in a place to do this, heavy disclaimer, if you're dealing with any very serious problems, please see a therapist.
Yes,
Um,
please.
but you know, if you're in a place to do this and you want to give it a try, you could, you know, do a reading for yourself. You could do a general reading. You could ask a more specific question about a specific situation that might be stressing you out. But before you do the reading, write down all your immediate thoughts and your analysis of that situation. Pull your cards, look at definitions, look at different definitions, not just the first two links that pop up on Google, and write down your analysis. Like, write down every possible option that those cards could be telling you and analyze it. Combine definitions, put it into your situation contextually, and then write down how you're feeling after. Go through your thought process, your emotions, and really think about the root of those emotions. Where are they coming from? Is it coming from an irrational or a rational place? If it's coming from a rational place, what event, what specific thing is making you feel that way, is causing those emotions? If it's coming from an irrational place, why are you feeling that way? Is it from a general anxiety? Is it from a traumatic event? Um, but in that kind of sense, I think tarot can be a very helpful tool. It's more than just pulling a card and reading a definition. You know, this
Yeah.
is why I also really recommend like writing down readings and really analyzing it.
Mhm.
Yeah, and this is coming into is like if you are particularly triggered by particular cards due to like a trauma response. I mean, like by all means, if you have to pull the card, right, pull the card out of the deck. But this is where we're coming from again as professional readers: is that if you're doing readings for other people and you're pulling cards like that, or you're giving advice to other people to just pull out the cards that you don't like, that's disingenuous.
Yeah.
And I think also with pulling out cards as well, it's like, personally for me, I don't really like the traditional rider-waite deck. The imagery of it does not really speak to me, and I think some of it is just a little bit, it just doesn't do it for me. There are so many different kinds of tarot decks with different imageries, even ones that will give you a different vibe with your reading. You know, like people, you will hear people say a lot, oh, this deck always roasts me. This deck is so mean to me. You know, and that really is true of tarot decks, kind of do have their own personality. And I think a lot of that does have to do with the imagery on the deck. There are so many varieties to tarot nowadays. I think an important part to get past the step of wanting to pull cards out of your deck is to find a deck that you can really vibe with.
Which is
Yeah.
funny because my meanest deck is my cat tarot deck, which is like the fluffiest deck, and it's such a
That's so
fucking
funny.
asshole. It's an asshole to me. It's like the biggest fucking dick to me. And it's so funny because it's like it's literally pink and cute and it has kitties everywhere.
Oh
And
my
like the devil card is a doggy. Death
god. Track.
death is a vacuum.
Please, that's so funny.
It's
What's
like
in this deck?
yeah, it's so cute and it is an absolute jerk to me and it never gets read for that reason. I'm just like, we're done here. Like it is so particularly just like it's just snotty. It's not even like helpful. It's just like, oh, you know what? No, I need a little bit of a read today. I need to like get myself. No, it's just snotty. And I'm like,
Mm,
we're done. We're done here.
cat
My
behavior, honestly.
advice, not for this deck, but okay, so I don't know if I've spoken about this in the past on this podcast, but I've definitely spoken about it on social media before. I have a stick up my ass about Oracle decks, okay? I don't like them. I don't like Oracle cards. I like them visually, but I don't see a need for them. However, I think very specifically if you're using tarot for mental health, there are Oracle decks out there that are sort of more mental health based and like focus on your mental health. I think those could be good for introspection. It depends on the one you get, and I don't have any recommendations. But like shop around. You sort of know yourself. Like if it's completely and utterly 100% love and light, and that's what you need, then get it. To be honest, I just don't don't only use that.
Yeah. That's really the thing too. I think it's important, especially if you take tarot very seriously, if you're very interested in tarot and that's something that you want to pursue. I do think it's important to have multiple decks. Um and you know, and this is also my thing with pulling cards out of the decks, and this is something that like in therapy that we talk about a lot, is like, how do you, at a certain point you do have to step out of your comfort zone a little bit, feel the walls of it, walk up to that line and see how it feels so that you can continue to grow past that. If a particular card makes you really uncomfortable, write down why. What emotions does it evoke? What part of the imagery or the message of the card really bothers you, and get to the root of that. Where is that feeling coming from? And either you can break down that feeling and realize, this isn't so bad, actually, I'm not bothered by this card anymore, or maybe realize this deck isn't doing it for me. Maybe I'll try a new deck, you know? And I know, Owen, I know you hate Oracle decks. I have a particular love for Oracle decks. I love them. I want to make an Oracle deck so bad.
Oh, and why did you invite them again?
I
Why
will
would
buy an Oracle deck. If you make an Oracle deck, I will buy it and I will send you a video of me burning it.
Please. No, because listen, I'm literally Roma too. Like, it's. But I
I don't.
love them. I love.
Why?
No, because you know what I love? I love Oracle decks. My favorite is the Hedge Witch Botanical deck because it's just
By
pictures of
Sholo Thompson.
flowers.
No way.
It's my favorite because there's no definitions. It's just, yeah, this is a flower. And then I'm just like, huh, that means a lot to me. Um,
like I'm feeling this inside me?
The
no,
only
truly.
the only Oracle deck that I like cope with is what the fuck is it called? Because okay, my first tower deck was the Lion Strider deck by Sholo Thompson, and they also wrote an Oracle deck. They also drew an Oracle deck, and also a really nice webcomic. You should check that
I
out.
think the Oracle deck that they did is the Hedge Witch Botanical deck.
Yeah, I think it
Yeah.
might be.
Because the
They
Line Strider Tarot, it's like the same art and the same artist.
Yeah, okay. I've been googling it really slowly on my phone, like while stalling. But they made the other Kintaro the head. Oh,
Nope. Are
Yeah,
you
that's my
dying?
bad. I live in New
Okay.
York City. There's just air raid sirens
It's okay.
sometimes.
you're
We
valid.
we accept it.
They made They made the Winter Seer Oracle, Winter Seer Animal Oracle. Oh my god, the Lion Strider Tarot, the other Kintaro, and the Hedrick Botanical Oracle,
There you
and
go.
I fuck with all of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the Oracle deck that I use.
So I will actually use Oracle decks for anchors, but I won't use divination for them. Like I will use them if I'm doing lunar spreads. I have like the Moonology deck, so I'll take out the full moon one. I'll take out like if it's like full moon in Taurus, I'll take out the Taurus card and I'll kind of prop them up. So I just kind of use them more like I would use crystals, but I don't use them for
Yeah.
divination.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I listen. Oracle decks can be like 40 quid. And personally, to me, I just don't believe that if I am going to be spending 40 quid on something. Okay, wait. I don't believe that I should spend 40 quid on something I'm not going to use. I appreciate that other people can use them, but I just don't see the need for them when I have a tarot deck.
Yeah.
I'm
The,
just like,
this is
yeah.
a very long way of Owen saying sour grapes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shut
And for
up.
me, I use Oracle decks very differently than I use my tarot deck.
Mhm.
Um, like one deck that I really love, I love the Juliet Diaz deck. I think it's called Earthwoman or something, but I like it a lot because each card has like a ritual or a meditation to go along with it. So I
Oh, that's
usually
nice.
just like pull one card to see what I need for that day, and then I do like the ritual or the meditation that goes with it.
Yeah, for me, Oracle I find is very useful for personal practice.
Yeah.
Again, I am a professional reader. I would not pull them out for a professional read just because I don't feel like it has enough depth to be able to pull enough information for my clients. It's going to make them
Yeah.
feel good because I'll pull out a card and be like, this flower means that you're growing inside, but it doesn't really mean dick all if I'm trying to find out a solution to the problem.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I do some professional readings with the Hedge Witch Botanical deck, but it's more like channeling than actually reading the cards.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They just kind of give you like a direction. But it's very, and I think that very much the same can apply to tarot. You know, there are so many, just like there are so many different uses for Oracle decks, and just the three of us talking here, we all have a million different uses for how we use things. The same very much goes for tarot. There
Yeah.
are a million different things that you can do with the cards than just pull a card and be like, tell me my future, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I think that for me is that the tarot is such a strong jack of all trades. It's like a Swiss Army knife. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Is
Yeah.
basically my attitude on it.
Yeah.
Speaking of using different decks, I actually didn't grow up reading tarot. I know I'm a bad Roma. I grew up reading playing cards.
Okay, but same.
That would
Like,
actually
Yeah.
see. I just started to get into Lenormand, which is basically I got a playing card deck, so I've been screwing around with that, and it's definitely a good time. It's definitely a good time for sure. It's a lot more
mhm.
direct. It's a lot more. It's not like figure this out. It's just like, well, this is gonna be your day. Deal with it, bitch, and then
Yep.
walks out the door.
Yeah. Oh my god. And I think that's what really tripped me up when I started to get into tarot about like 7 years ago.
Mhm.
Um is like going from playing cards to tarot. I was like, why do I have to think about this? Why are
No,
you making me do the work? I
no,
asked you. Like,
no, but that's actually a really good like example of it because I started reading like playing cards. I think I was like 12ish. Yeah. And because I knew other people like in my family and stuff that did it. And so I was like, okay, well, teach me. And then they were like, okay. And then I bought an oracle or not an oracle deck. Oh my god. I've just exposed myself. No, but I bought the like the Line Shredder Tower or something when I was like 14. And it was just mwah. Like I was like, okay, I'm done now. Like I hate this and it's so much more work. But I kind of like it. Like I don't really read playing cards anymore.
Oh
yeah.
wow.
I
Only if
still read playing cards very heavily, but like situationally, you know?
I'll read
I
cards if I don't have tarot cards. Like if I'm in a pub or something and like I'm a little bit drunk and someone else is a little bit drunk and they're like, "Oh my god, give me a reading," and I'm like, "Okay," I'll pull out like someone's deck of playing cards and be like, "Here you go," and
That's
then that's
so
it.
funny.
Yeah, and
That's
then they
so
buy me a
funny.
drink. It's great. That's how I get free drinks.
Ooh. Honestly,
So we're talking
smart.
about grift, and here's Owen just grifting.
No, because listen, you know what I do in the summer if I go to the park? I have like a little sign that's like tarot readings, $10. And then people just fucking in the park just come up and are like, oh, can I get a reading? And I'm like, yeah, sure. On my
That is such
little
a good
picnic
idea.
blanket. Listen, it's a good hustle.
Oh
And
my
this
Can't
god,
go
is the
wrong.
thing at the end of the day. Tarot readers, readers in general, we're hustlers, but there's a difference between a hustler and a grifter.
Yes.
yeah.
Um, Anybody who's telling you too many facts that are not lining up, grifter for sure. You know,
Mhm.
it really, and like with all things, I feel like I hear this word on a daily basis and I really need to pound it into people's heads. Discernment, please.
I actually haven't heard that word in a very long
We
time.
haven't heard that one, yeah, because we usually have nuance, anchor, but discernment is a good one that we can have to add that one to the podcast vocabulary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this really calls for some discernment because the grifters, I get them every single day on TikTok, just on lives.
Oh yeah.
Oh, what was it? Was it Grand Rising, beloved? Is
Oh,
that it?
good
Is
God in heaven, not Grand Rising.
but yeah, and that's the thing. Going back to like the theme of the episode, like there's the reason why these people exist is because they do prey on people with mental health issues. So people who are looking for an answer, people who are looking for like some sort of path out of where they're at. And I find that
Out of where they're at.
out of where they're at. Yes.
Out.
So
Out.
oot. So the problem is that we see that, and it's how can I explain it in a way that makes sense? Like that's why even reading for tarot for yourself, you have to make sure you're not grifting yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Or if somebody's like reaching out to you, it's just like they're not reaching out to you because you're special. They're reaching out to you because they think you have a fat wallet.
Yeah, exactly. Any tarot reader or reader in general who comes in your DMs, don't trust it.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. That is something that we should address. If someone is coming into your DMs to sell you a tarot reading, that's not hustling, that's grifting.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
straight
that's
up.
not grifting. That's just straight up like hot fat scam. Like a grift to a certain
Yeah.
extent, at least you can kind of explain away as entertainment. Nah, man, that's just a scam, especially where they do masquerade as other like content creators and such. Like I would almost like I wouldn't say okay, like I'd almost be like, you know what? I respect the dirty, filthy hustle if you're using your own face and name, but no, they never do. They always use somebody else's face and
Yeah.
name. So yeah, no, gross. But getting back, it's just that you got to protect yourself because the thing is that it's again the key word there's nuance. Is finding that balance. Is that you want to be able to use tarot to be able to push your own boundaries, right? And if you're not in a
Yeah.
position to kind of push your own boundaries, just don't use tarot. And it's okay to not use tarot. I think there's a little bit of a, again, social media push that, oh, if you want to fix something, just do witchcraft or just do this and just sprinkle some oils around and stuff some herbs up your ass and everything will be fine.
Mm,
And it
I
doesn't
hate that so much.
work that way. It doesn't work that way at all. Any of my practices, any of my spell work, any of my tarot readings have been more successful and more insightful when I'm in a better place.
Yeah. And that being said, too, it's okay to take a break from your practice. You know, if you've been a reader, whether it's for a year or 10 years, it's okay to take a minute and put down the cards and, just take time to sit with yourself and whatever's going on with you and work on that. Your practice is going to be there at the end of the day because it's you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's and this is, I think, something that, like, as far as like mental health awareness, is something that really needs to be pushed, like especially by now there are so many people dealing with severe burnout, and you can have spiritual burnout and you shouldn't just keep going and keep doing readings on it, because then you end up in a spiral that just keeps you going down. And recovering from burnout is very, very hard, and it takes a while, but you have to give yourself that time to take a break. Whether you're burned out from doing spell work or readings or anything like that, it's okay to take a break.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
like if you are letting tarot run your life, like if you feel like for every life situation or instance that's coming up, you need a tarot reading, you need to take a step back, because that's a little bit like that's kind of it's a cop out. Like that's kind of bypassing yourself a little bit. Like instead of dealing with the situation, you're trying to see what's going to happen but without you doing anything. And it's like, and yes, that's okay, but I don't think you should be doing it all of the time.
yeah, I don't even
Yeah.
have a daily tarot practice. I was doing it, I was like doing one card readings and I was posting them on my Instagram, and that burnt me out.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I was just doing that, just like, not as a collective thing, but just more or less they're readings for myself, right? But I was just basically making content and at the same time, and I fucking hated it because I sat there, I was looking at these cards and I'm like, I'm sitting on my ass at home. I don't have any plans today. Why is the tower coming up? Oh well, my plant died. But I'm sitting here and I'm trying to figure out what the tower means to me when it's just as simple as my plant dying, because I'm forcing these cards out to try to get insight on a very, very benign day.
Yeah.
So I very much so, because I know people really do push a daily practice, but when I say pull cards daily to learn how to read tarot, it's just strictly for learning. It's not to get any more insight. When I'm pulling cards daily, I'm already well established. I don't need to learn anymore. At that point, I'm trying to force this very boring day onto this very powerful card, because the card is trying to tell me something that it's really major for the day that my plant died, but does it matter in the long scheme of things? No. So I only do 2 readings a month during the new moon and during the full moon. I put those spreads up on my Insta, and that's all I do for myself at this point. And there's nothing wrong with having a smaller but more contained and more meaningful practice. And I think that a lot of reason why people burn out, especially people dealing with mental health issues, is that they're trying to force something. And again, I don't know if they're trying to come up with an outcome, because I know with witchcraft, it's a very results based practice where you're trying to change results, right? And I find that, again, where I'm most successful is when I'm actually at my most calm and at my most happiness. That's when I'm actually able to push results. If I'm doing what I call emergency magic, where I'm doing
Mm.
emergency things because something has to be fixed now, it's never as effective, or worse, it backfires.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I think also in part a lot of the reason why people feel so pushed to keep doing and doing and doing has a lot to do with the way that the social media has really
Yes.
commodified witchcraft and divination. You know, and you see this a lot on social media where people post their daily practice, which is all fine and good, but you have to keep in mind that that's their daily practice and you don't know what's going on behind the scenes for them, or if they're just making content and they don't actually do that every day, you
Yes, I
know?
was just about to say that, because there was at a moment of time where I'm like, I'm just gonna do. I didn't do it, but I thought, I'm like, this would be 100 times easier if I just record myself flipping 15 cards and just put them on the like buffer, so it just goes out once every couple days. That would have been so much easier for me, and I can guarantee that that's what these people are doing, especially if it's perfect every time, because like a 1 minute video takes about 15 minutes to do. It
Yeah.
takes some time. It's exhausting. So anything you see on social media is a lie.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not as handed as a lot of people will make you think it is. And like even for me, in terms of daily tarot practice, I sleep with my cards beside my bed because that's where my desk is.
So romantic.
I know, my currently the only love in my fucking life, but I'll wake up in the morning. Can you tell I'm bitter yet? But I wake up in the morning and I'd like shuffle really quickly. I pull a card and I'm like, oh, that means this, and this. And I don't take it as like a pull for the day. It's just like a flashcard. And I'm like, okay, nice. I'm studying for my tarot exams. And I've been doing this for so long that it's not really like it's just like with my coffee in the morning. I'll get up in the morning, I'll pull my card, I'll make my coffee, and I'll sit there drinking my coffee and be like, okay, so this is what this means. And it's just to sort of like, because I have really, really bad long term memory problems, or short term memory problems, both memory. I have overall really bad memory problems, and I struggle a lot with like sort of medical brain fog. And I like to keep refreshing myself every single day,
Yeah.
because if I don't, that shit will go out of my head so quickly. Like
Yeah.
it's, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's less of a daily practice, in my opinion. That's more of a daily refresher.
Yeah. I do a
Honestly,
lot of that too.
yeah. And I shouldn't say, like, when I say when I was doing my daily practice, I was trying to do a daily practice. I still do like daily refreshers, but I don't consider it a reading. I just pull out a card. I'm just like, okay, spit out 5 keywords in your head in 2 seconds, go. It's one of those, right? It's training at that point. I'm just sitting there, I'm just pumping
Mhm.
the iron when it comes to what I do for my practice. It's not, again, it's not practice, it's more of training. And
Yeah.
honestly, that I encourage, right? Because
Yeah.
honestly, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't have spoons for doing a practice. I'm like, neither do I. Nobody has spoons for a daily practice. But what they should be doing is a daily training. Really.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the thing, like I think with the whole controversy of like daily practice and the conversation around it, it's such a dirty word. It's just like sometimes my daily practice is just sitting in silence for 5 minutes and like meditating. You don't even have to like meditate in the
Yeah.
traditional way of trying to like still your body. Just like if you're washing dishes, just like let your head go empty. Or if you can't let your head go empty, let that shit be loud. Let it be as loud as you want it to be, you know? Just like people I think really get into this like social media idealized concept of a daily practice of doing spell work every day and everything has to look a certain way, and of course there's like aesthetics and like even systemic aesthetics that go along with it where it's always very white, very thin people, you know, but it
Mhm.
doesn't have to be that way. Your practice is what you make of it, and at the end of the day, witchcraft is not a goal to be attained. It's something that's supposed to help you, and if it's not helping you, or if the things that you're doing are not helping you, modify them so that they help you or take a break, you know?
Yeah. I mean, for me, in terms of daily practice, it's kind of non existent. I mean, like, every day I will pray in some form because, like, that's just something that I've been doing since I was like a child. Like, that was just culturally, like, instilled in me. Like, if I'm leaving the house, I will say, like, a prayer for leaving the house. I'm like, okay, hope I don't get hit by a truck. Amen. Or, like, whatever. Like, just that sort of thing. Not like that, but, like, that's the sort of vibe. And that's my daily practice. My daily practice is how I incorporate my religion and my spirituality into my daily life. It's not what I can do to make my religion and it's not what I do in my daily life to make my religion and spirituality better. It's how my religion and spirituality betters my daily life.
Yeah. I mean, like,
Yeah.
there's been times where I haven't practiced in months, but I've spent every day reading,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be bombastic. And I think that's where
That's
mental,
a good word. We should add that to the podcast vocabulary.
which bumped,
Bombastic.
bombastic. Yeah. It's not always a big, like, I'm not naked in the woods. It'd be nice if I could be naked in the woods every day, but I'm not naked in the woods every day. Doing like big, huge, big wicked things. Because, and again, I think that comes into maybe people are asking too much from themselves. Again, if they do this
Yeah.
certain spell, then all their mental health issues are going to go away, or all their problems are going to go away. And it's not that simple. And it's really not that simple.
Yeah, and even like in terms of doing like, because I see people online who claim that they do like spell work every day as part of their daily practice, and I'm just kind of sitting there like, you are so incredibly and deeply full of shit. Because what do you have every single day like that you need to cast a spell for? Like, what possible thing going to be happening in your daily life
Right.
How are
means you
you
have
not a spiritual
every?
prune? Like, how are you not like this sucked
Yeah.
dry? Because like that's so. Listen, that is so much fucking work, man. Like,
Yeah,
I don't have
Yeah.
time for that.
I don't have energy for that. I don't even have the will to do that. I wouldn't even want to do that if I could do that.
Like, I feel
Because
No,
like
like,
exactly.
anytime I do a spell, like, you know that the drink that they give you before they take your blood to check your like your sugar levels. I feel like I have to drink one of those when I'm done, and I have to like go get a
Yeah.
massage. Like,
I
No, for
actually have
real.
that. I have glucose tablets that I take after spell work. I have glucose
That's
tablets.
so
They're
funny.
delicious.
I always drink a Gatorade. I'm like, all right, I need a Gatorade, and then I need a tea, and then I gotta cook dinner. I gotta make something immediately.
Oh
Dead
yeah,
serious.
absolutely.
Being an Atlantic Canadian and Indigenous, I have a dart. I go out and I have a big old fat smoke, and it's great.
I
Yeah.
love that. No, this is really. Listen, being a fucking New York gypsy, I'm like, yeah, it's time to take this pack of Marlboro Reds and sit on the stoop. That's what it's gonna be.
If you see me outside having a dart, then you know it went down.
Yeah,
Please.
exactly.
Oh my
Oh
god.
god.
We in this together. All of us are awful people, but we're in this together.
Yeah, listen, this is why
Yeah.
I'm a psychologist, because I struggle.
Oh
And
my
this is
god.
why we wanted to have this conversation because like I think that especially in my case I can have a bit of I wouldn't say narrow because I definitely recognize when people have different paths than I do when it comes to dealing with their mental health. My way of dealing with my mental health is basically acting like a street cat and just like fighting and
Yeah.
eating trash.
Oh, very much same. Yeah.
I
So
love that for
so
you.
when people are just like, actually, fluffy ducks have made it very easy on me, I'm just like, I love that for you. And honestly, I'm really happy for you, but I'm going to get on this podcast because it's my podcast and shit on it. Not because it's bad. Not because it's bad. It's actually 100% fantastic. I could not. I would actually feel worse about myself if I did that to myself because
I'd
Yeah.
feel guilty. I'd be like, I know that there was some like shadow or dark stuff there that I completely avoided because I'm an idiot.
yeah, I'm just
Right,
like, I'd be
exactly.
like, Daddy didn't raise no pussy ass bitch, so why am I doing this? Like, what's
No,
happening?
exactly. I was raised by a brown grandmother. Like, I need the wooden spoon straight to the back of the head.
Oh my god.
Give me the
The
spoon.
broom handle.
Oh yeah, when I'm in my therapist place and if I do use tarot, I don't pick the nice ones. I pick the ones that are going to tell me what's up and I'm gonna look at it and be like, fuck you, but you're right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I personally I'm sick of talking about tarot and mental health. Does anyone else have anything else to say?
Oh, please, I'm so sick of talking about mental health. This is why I don't talk about it on TikTok, because I'm like,
Yeah.
listen, the TikTok mental health community, I have so much
Oh.
hate in my heart for you, truly.
This is whatever the opposite of a shout out is to the TikTok mental health community because you
Yeah,
are all you're
yeah.
killing me.
It's not a
Everybody in the
shutout, it's a
TikTok mental health.
shutdown. It's a
Yes.
shutdown.
Exactly, and you need to be shut down. Federal penitentiary immediately. Oh my god.
But yeah, I think I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
It's
Professional way. Okay, we're at 47 minutes. Is that enough?
That's enough, yeah, whatever. We got our point across. You know what?
Yeah.
You do you, and I hope that it all works for you. Unless you're being stupid, then don't do you. Be better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have the day you deserve.
Oh my god, I love that so much. Who started saying that recently?
I think I did.
Ooh.
My favorite also is I hope your day is as pleasant as you are.
Oh, yeah, you'll love to
That's a
see it.
good one.
But yeah, I've been on Kylak. You can find me on Twitter at that name and also Instagram that I don't use. And that is kind of it. But the link tree will be there for you to see me properly because I know you can't spell that. I know I just like don't even pretend that you can.
Yes,
You
and I'm Kateri. You're going to find me at Vinoxus on Instagram mostly, or my website at vinoxus.net, where you can purchase readings from myself. And I do run the Soothsayers Tea Instagram. The link is in the description below.
And I'm Christina, and you can find me at CFTV Apothecary on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Etsy. And
Yes.
also at the Roma Unraveled podcast.
Yes, we will have their links below.
Yeah. Thank you very much, everybody. We will see you on Monday.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.